There's a moment every gardener knows too well. You walk up to your compost pile weeks, sometimes months after building it, expecting rich, dark humus. And instead you find a stubborn, half-rotted heap that looks almost unchanged. It's frustrating, and it makes you wonder if composting is just meant to be slow. But here's something most modern guides don't tell you. It wasn't always this way. Long before store-bought accelerators and branded compost starters, farmers were producing finished compost far faster using simple everyday materials. No chemicals, no expensive inputs, just observation, experience, and a deep understanding of how nature works. And today, those forgotten methods are quietly making a comeback because they work. Before we go further, take a second to support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who loves gardening or sustainable living, drop a comment with your experience, and subscribe to Garden Smart for more practical, time-tested knowledge that actually makes a difference. Now let's get into what really speeds compost up and why these old techniques are still incredibly powerful. To understand why these traditional methods matter, you need to know why compost piles stall in the first place. Composting is driven by microbes, bacteria, fungi, and other microscopic life forms that break down organic matter. In the early stages, these microbes thrive on easily digestible materials like sugars and proteins. That's when your pile heats up quickly and seems full of life. But then something changes. Oxygen levels drop, nutrients become less available, and the remaining materials, like dry leaves, stalks, and woody fibers, are harder to break down. The microbial activity slows, temperatures fall, and the process drags on. This is where most compost piles get stuck. Traditional farmers didn't necessarily explain this in scientific terms, but they observed it clearly. More importantly, they found ways to keep the process moving. One of the most surprising methods involves something many people would just throw away: sour milk. When milk spoils, it actually becomes rich in lactic acid bacteria, the same beneficial microbes responsible for fermenting foods like yogurt and kefir. These bacteria are honestly incredibly effective at breaking down organic matter. When added to compost, sour milk introduces a fresh wave of microbial activity. It slightly acidifies the environment, which helps soften tough plant fibers and makes them way easier to decompose. It also suppresses harmful bacteria that can cause foul odors or, slow the process. Beyond that, milk contains proteins and fats, both of which serve as energy sources for microbes. This gives the entire compost system a boost, helping it stay active longer instead of peaking early and fading out. Farmers rarely used fresh milk for this purpose. They relied on what was already turning, clabbered or leftover milk that had no other use. A small splash poured over a pile was often enough to revive a stalled compost heap and keep it working steadily. So, another overlooked material is wood ash. In traditional farm settings, ash from cooking fires or fireplaces was never wasted, It found its way into fields, gardens, and compost piles. Wood ash plays a unique role because it alters the chemical balance of compost. It's alkaline, which means it can neutralize excess acidity in a pile. When compost becomes too acidic, microbial activity can slow down significantly. A light sprinkling of ash helps correct this imbalance, creating a more favorable environment for decomposition. Ash also contributes essential minerals like potassium and calcium. These nutrients don't just improve the compost itself, they support microbial growth during the process. Additionally, the fine texture of ash helps improve moisture retention and creates tiny spaces where microbes can thrive. But, hey, the key is restraint. Too much ash can interfere with nitrogen availability, which is crucial for decomposition. Traditional farmers understood this balance intuitively, using just enough to support the process without overwhelming it. Perhaps the most fascinating of these old techniques is the use of yeast. Common in baking and brewing, yeast is a powerful fermenter. When introduced into compost, it rapidly begins breaking down sugars and starches, producing enzymes that help dismantle plant cell walls. This early-stage activity makes it easier for other microbes to take over and continue the decomposition process. In a sense, yeast acts as a trigger, jump-starting the system and accelerating the breakdown of materials that would otherwise take much longer. Even after yeast completes its primary role, it doesn't go to waste. It actually becomes a nutrient source itself, feeding the next wave of microbial life. This creates a cascading effect that keeps the compost active and productive. Honestly, a simple mixture of water and a small amount of yeast can be sprinkled onto fresh materials, especially kitchen scraps, to kickstart the process before they even fully integrate into the pile. What made these traditional techniques so effective wasn't just their individual benefits, but how they were often used together. Farmers would layer organic materials with small additions of ash, occasional pours of sour milk, and periodic boosts of yeast. This combination created a dynamic environment where microbes were constantly supported, balanced, and replenished. Instead of a single burst of activity followed by decline, the compost stayed active over a longer period, breaking down even stubborn materials more efficiently. The result was compost that matured faster and developed a richer, more stable structure. It held moisture better, contained more nutrients, and contributed to healthier soil overall. The beauty of these techniques is their simplicity. They don't require special equipment or expensive products. They rely on materials that are often already available in your home. A small amount of sour milk or leftover whey added once a week can keep microbial populations strong. A light scattering of clean wood ash can help maintain balance and provide minerals. And, honestly, a simple yeast solution can jumpstart new additions to your pile. These are not replacements for good composting practices. You still need a balance of green and brown materials, proper moisture, and airflow. But these additions act as catalysts, helping the system work more efficiently and consistently. At its core, composting is not about waste. It is about life. It is a process driven by countless organisms working together to transform raw materials into something valuable. What these old farming methods reveal is a deeper truth. Small, thoughtful inputs can have a powerful impact on that system. By supporting microbial life, instead of leaving it to chance, you can dramatically improve both the speed and quality of your compost. If you've been struggling with slow piles, this is your opportunity to change that. Bring these time-tested methods into your routine and see the difference for yourself. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Garden Smart, share this with fellow growers, and keep these forgotten techniques alive for the next generation of gardeners.